CBS News chief congressional correspondent Nancy Cordes is following the latest from Capitol Hill. Nancy, tell us about Kushner's demeanor when he arrived. Did he say anything?
He said nothing. He kept a smile on his face the entire time. As you can imagine, there were quite a few reporters here in the Hart Senate office building awaiting his arrival. You can see some of them over my right-hand shoulder waiting for him to come out of the meeting. And he said nothing to us. He got questions shouted at him. He just kept smiling, kept walking, and went into this a secure room where he is meeting with Intelligence Committee staffers. And we're told that it's unlikely he'll have anything to say on the way out either.
So, Nancy, what do these staffers want to ask Jared Kushner? Obviously, there's been so much that's been revealed through the reporting of CBS News, yourself, and other news organizations about some of these meetings that Mr. Kushner's had. The many times that he's gone back to amend his statements for his security clearance. What is it that they're going to focus on?
They have a lot of questions for him, Vlad, and not much time to ask those questions because we're told that this meeting is only going to last about an hour and a half or so. So they want to ask him about some of the Russian meetings that he outlined in his statement, that now infamous meeting involving Donald Trump Jr. and a Russian lawyer, his conversations with the former Russian ambassador Sergei Kislyak, his meeting with the head of a Russian bank with ties to Vladimir Putin. They want to know how those conversations came about, what they discussed, and why Kushner didn't reveal that he had spoken with some of these people in the filings that he made in order to get his security clearance. Beyond that, they're going to check some of the facts that they have and that they've been gathering as part of their investigation with what Kushner laid out in this 11-page statement that he put out today. So, for example, he says that some of the meetings that he had, for example, with this head of a Russian bank, were completely routine. He only had that meeting because the Russian ambassador, Sergei Kislyak, told him that he should, and that he basically did it as a courtesy to Kislyak. So they're going to have a lot of questions to see whether what Kushner is revealing now in more detail than we've ever heard from him before squares with the information that they've been able to gather, not just from the administration, but from other sources.
Nancy, when Kushner faces House Intelligence Committee members tomorrow, will this be any different?
It's going to be pretty similar. He'll meet, primarily with staffers, the way he is doing over here on the Senate side. And some people have asked, well, why is that? Why wouldn't senators want to be in the room when Jared Kushner finally comes to meet with them? This is someone they've been wanting to hear from for a long time. But what I've been told is that in these types of meetings, when you don't have a lot of time, you really want the trained staffers who know exactly what they want to ask, what information they want to get out of this meeting. You really want them there in the meeting. This is not one of those flashy hearings where everybody's kind of grandstanding and making their pet point here or there. They are purely in that meeting to get as much information as possible out of Jared Kushner in a short period of time. And while he's not going to say anything here on Capitol Hill, we're told that it's possible that he could later today at the White House give his version of what took place in that meeting publicly, because we know that we'll probably get some details from Senate offices once the meeting is concluded.
Nancy, here's a question that I have. I wonder, and I don't know if you might be able to answer this, but I wonder, the testimony that Mr. Kushner is going to deliver to these Senate Intel staffers, is that testimony that can be used by the special counsel Robert Mueller as he continues his investigation, or are there to be separate meetings with Mr. Kushner and Robert Mueller, or is it just what's on the record that they're looking at? How does that process work?
You know, they can look at everything, and that's why there's so much consternation within the White House every time the president tweets about this, because anything that he says is now in the public record, and it's now something that the special counsel can take a look at, that these investigative committees here on Capitol Hill can take a look at. So certainly, Kushner wrote up this opening statement as a guide to the way that he believes that these Russia meetings played out. He describes it all very very innocently. He says, look, I was overworked. I was naive. This was a presidential campaign. I had never done this before. I was getting calls from not just the Russian ambassador, but dozens of different foreign officials who were all trying to curry favor and all trying to establish a relationship with the new president-elect. And he says that there wasn't anything out of the ordinary about the conversations that he had with the Russians. But the special counsel, the Senate Intelligence Committee, the House Intelligence Committee may have other facts. Perhaps everything that they have lines up with what Kushner is saying. Perhaps it doesn't. So, either this statement will help to exonerate him if in fact, it does match up with the details that these investigative committees have, but it could also be used against him if there's a mismatch between what he's saying and what they know the facts to be.
All right, Nancy Cordes live from Capitol Hill. Thank you, Nancy.
You're welcome.